My fiancé has been lying for months. I 29 need real advice, please. So I met my now fiancé F26 about 3 years ago through mutual friends of ours. She was very innocent, didn't drink much, didn't smoke, never done drugs. We had a really good relationship and everything was going great, hence why I asked her to marry me. We moved in together around the same time too. She has a daughter, 7, that lives with us too. Anyway, around 6 months ago, my fiancé starts going out drinking with her friends often, which is totally fine. I always offered to pick her up if she is stuck too. However, it became more and more often, from once every 2 months to every single weekend without fail. Then she started staying out overnight, but she always told me where she is and was always back around 9 a.m. I started to worry because this just wasn't usual behavior for her. Even though she told me where she was, it was very unusual for her to act like this. So cut forward to maybe 3 months after the first time she stayed out all night, she goes out with her friends and again stays out all night. This time though, she didn't come home. In the morning, there was also no contact from her at all. So naturally, I contacted her friend P via phone, who she was out with. They said we left her at the bar with her friend L M26, who I had never heard of before. This guy had never been mentioned. My fiancée was the type of girl to never be around another guy. I didn't know this guy's full name, so I couldn't contact him. Her friend, who I was on the phone with, also said, "I have something else to tell you too. Your fiancé has also been doing drugs. For a while, we left her with the guy who she buys it off. I'm sorry." So, my head started spinning. I was worried about where she was, but also what she was doing. Again, this was a girl that would never ever be near another guy and never do drugs, so I was perplexed. About 12 noon, after I had exhausted all my options contacting all of her friends' family to ask if they had seen her, all saying they had not, I started to get really worried. Maybe rashly, I contacted the police to report her missing. At this point, I was on the verge on tears as I thought she could be dead. It may have been irrational, but I was genuinely worried. Once I had officially reported her missing, I then had to contact her parents and tell them the same thing. She didn't come home. I cannot contact her, etc. They were wailing down the phone to be crying and screaming. Another 3 hours pass, her mom constantly ringing for updates when my fiancé decided it's time to come home. She walked through the door, and I was relieved but also furious. I walked over to her, gave her a hug, but demanded to know where she had been. I felt like I deserved to know. She told me, "I stayed at P's house, the friend of hers I had spoke to hours before." I knew this wasn't true as I had had a conversation with P. So I told my fiancé, "I know you are lying." She said, "I swear down on my daughter's life, that is the truth." I said again, "I know you are lying as I have spoke to P and she has confirmed that she left you in the bar." I asked, "Who were you with when P left you?" She said, "I was alone, I promise, I was alone." Again I said, "I know this is a lie, you were with L, who is he to you?" She said, "How do you know?" I said, "P told me." Anyway, I won't go into specifics of the whole conversation, but she continued to lie. Said she was only with L for 20 minutes, then it was an hour, then it was I don't know how long. She eventually told me that she stayed at her friend Laura's house. I said, "Is that the actual truth?" She said, "I promise that is the truth." So, being the silly man I am, I believed her. I also asked her about the drugs. She lied, said she had only done them twice, and she regretted it both times. I knew this wasn't true due to my conversation with P. She still to this day tells me it's just twice. But the fact her friends rang me and told me that she is always doing drugs leads me to believe that only doing them twice isn't true. Anyway, cut to 2 weeks ago, we were out with her friends. I had a few too many drinks, and I asked her friends, "Where did my fiancé stay that night?" I asked 3 of her friends. All 3 of them told me a different story. Not one of them told me the same story she told me. So I brought it up to my fiancé, probably the wrong time to do it when I was drunk. I said, "I asked all of your friends where you stayed that night. All of them told me a different version of events. What is the truth?" One of her friends, R, said she stayed at her house. Another friend, T, said she stayed at the L, the guy's house, and the third friend said she stayed in her mom's shed. So I questioned her on it. I said, "Are any of these stories true?" She said, "Yes, one of them is." I asked which one. She said she stayed in her mom's shed. Now, personally, I said I don't believe her. I asked why she would need to lie about where she stayed if she stayed in her mom's shed. She said, "I didn't want to disappoint you." She said she thinks she was spiked and couldn't remember where she lived, but could remember her mom's address. This is the story she is stuck with. She stayed in her mom's shed. She had only done drugs twice, and she was only with L for a bit, but didn't stay at his house. So now on Monday of this week, she said she is going out with her friends on Saturday. Naturally, I am worried about this. After everything that has happened, I am worried, but I said, "No problems, go out, enjoy yourself." Inside, I don't really want her to go out, but I am not here to control her and tell her she can't go out. I just asked her respectfully, after everything that has happened, if she could please come home after her night out. I feel like this isn't a big ask, as my thoughts are, you would want to come home to your fiancé. She tried to tell me from her point of view that if she stays at her friend's house and tells me that it isn't a big deal as she is telling me where she is. I tried to explain to her that after everything I have some trusting issues. She just laughed at me, like laughed directly in my face. She said she understands that I have trust issues, but said if she is having a good time with her friends, she doesn't want to come home just because I want her to be at home. She isn't going to ruin her night out because I want her home. I felt like a lot like my feelings are invalid because she wants to have fun with her friends, and I would be getting in the way of that. I am not a controlling person. I don't have access to her phone. I don't know her code for it either. I have never looked through her phone, but since this has all happened, she is ultra protective of her phone, which she never was. She is always on it texting, on messaging 24/7. The phone does not leave her side. She even puts it under her pillow when she sleeps at night to keep it protected. Also, she deletes messages on her phone often too. I have seen her do it. She says it's part of her OCD, which I understand, but she is constantly deleting messages. I am not sure if I have just noticed it more because there is a lack of trust, but it feels like she is deleting messages constantly, multiple times a day. She will send a text, then immediately delete the text chain. It gives the impression that she is hiding something, even if that isn't her intention. In her words, she didn't lie about doing drugs. She evaded the truth. We had a conversation the day after she had done them, before I knew she was taking them. I said I would never do drugs again. I did them when I was a teenager. It doesn't appeal to me, and she said I would never do them either. Just the day before, though, she was doing them. So her thought on it is she didn't lie, as I didn't directly ask her if she has done them. She just evaded the truth. So, my questions are, is it okay to not trust my fiancé? Is it normal for wanting her to come home after a night out? Not wanting her to lie about where she has been and who she has been with? Lastly, is it okay for feeling uncomfortable that she is constantly on her phone, texting, messaging 24/7, and deleting all her messages? What should I do? My brain is telling me to leave the relationship as it is so toxic, the lying, the deception, and the clear lack of respect for my feelings. My heart is telling me to stay with her. In all honesty, I love her. I love her daughter too. I see her as my own daughter and protect her as if she was my own too. Any advice, guidance, anything at all, please help me.